Hello, and I want to welcome you to part 2 of rectangular coordinate systems. In this section we will be applying the rectangular coordinate system. We will have, as you can see from these instructions, a y equals something, or something that involves an x and a y, and we are going to be asked to find the pair that matches, and then we'll graph the points. So for this, it says complete each ordered pair so that it is a solution of the given linear equation and graph the points. So, as you can see from these first two problems, that is the x-coordinate, because as we discussed in the previous video, for these type of problems, we see a parentheses with a separation with an x and a y, or separated by the comma. So that's what we have to work with. Whenever the number first appears in the first part to the left of the comma, we know that's the x. If it appears to the right of the comma, then we're looking for the y. So for this, we're going to take this equation and plug in for these first two for the x value and see what we get for the y. So to do that, let's get started. So I'd like to start off by identifying what we have. We have x equals -2 and y equals question mark. We are solving for the y. So let's start off by writing our equation. Y equals 2x plus 4. Okay, so we know what we know what x is. We know it's -2. So let's plug that in for the x. So we write y equals 2, and we just know that x is equal to -2. We write our plus 4. So y equals 2 times -2 is -4. Let's write down our plus 4. So y equals, when we combine that, we get 0. So y is equal to 0. So we'll write up here in the blank 0. Okay, let's continue on. Identifying here, x is equal to 0. Y is equal to question mark. Now if we rewrite our original equation, y equals 2x plus 4. We know that x is equal to 0 for this sense, so let's plug a 0 in for the x. So y equals 2 times 0 plus 4. And when we simplify, we get 2 times 0 is 0 plus 4, so y equals 4. So in our blank here, we're going to write a 4. And finally, for this part, we have that x is equal to 1, because it is the first number that appears to the left of the comma. And what is y equal? We don't know yet. That's what we're solving for. So let's start off by writing our original equation of y equals 2x plus 4. We know that x is equal to 1, so let's plug a 1 in for x. When we simplify, 2 times 1 is 2, plus our 4. So when we add those together, the 2 and the 4, we get y equals 6. So let's write a 6 up here in the blank. Okay, now that part was pretty simple, because we were just plugging into the variable found inside what we were solving for. Now we're going to change gears, and actually we're going to be solving for the x variable. So for each of these, x is going to be the question mark this time. And for each of these, we know what y is. For this one it's 2, y is equal to 4 here, y equals 8 here. But we have to solve it to find what the x is. So for this, y equals 2. For this one, y equals 4. For this one, y equals 8. Notice that each one appears to the right of the comma, meaning that is what we know, and the blank is what we're solving for. In each case, for this one, we're going to solve for the x. So I'm going to go through and rewrite the original equation for each. Let's get started with this first one here. So we know that y is equal to 2, and we're solving for x, so let's plug in a 2 for y. And we're going to solve for x. So we have to first start by subtracting 4 on both sides. When we do that, 2 minus 4 is minus 2 equals 2x. To solve for x, we want to divide both sides by 2, because remember x is being multiplied by 2. We do the inverse property of multiplication, which is division. We do that, we get negative 2 divided by 2, or just negative 1. So negative 1 goes in the blank. For this next problem, we know that y is equal to 4, and we're going to solve for x. In this case, we have 4 equals 2x plus 4. Starting off, let's subtract that 4 on both sides. We have 0, because 4 minus 4 is 0, equals 2x. Solving for x, we're going to divide by 2 on both sides, and we get that x is 0. So let's put a 0 up here. And then finally, we have the problem where we know that y is equal to 8. So let's plug in 8 in for y into the original equation. So 8 equals 2x plus 4. Subtracting 4 on both sides to get it by itself. 8 minus 4 is 4, equals 2x. Getting that x by itself, we divide by 2 on both sides. So x equals 2 divided by 4, or just 2. So we plug 2 into the blank. Okay, now we're asked to actually go through and take what we just solved and graph it. So I have this 4-quadrant plane that was discussed in the first video. I'm going to graph the points that we just found: negative 2, 0, 4, or 0, 4, 1, 6, negative 1, 2, 0, 4. Notice these are the same points, and 2, 8. Let's get started. Alrighty, so this first point, we have negative 2, 0. So negative 2 is the x direction, so we go negative 2 in the x in the horizontal direction. We don't go anywhere vertically because we are at 0, so we know this is our point right here that we're looking for. This is the first point. I'm going to label it point A. I'm going to label that A down there. Okay, next, point B is 0, 4. We don't want to go anywhere from the origin left or right because it is already at 0, so we have to move up 4 places on the vertical axis or the y-axis to positive 4, and that's going to be point B. For point C, it's this next one, 1, 6. So the first point is 1. Let's move positive 1 places on the x direction. So there we are. We have to go up 6 places on the y-axis and let our fingers meet, and they're going to meet right there at point C. Okay, for point D, we're going to label this one D up here. We need to go negative 1 places on the x direction, and then locate negative 2 on the y direction. We're going to see that that is right here. We're going to let our fingers meet, and they will meet right here at point D. Oh, excuse me, that should be, we go up, not, that is not right. I am so sorry. We want to go negative 1, and then up 2 places. Excuse me. So we go to the left 1 place on the x direction, and then we have to find positive 2 on the y direction, which is right here, and let our fingers meet, and they'll meet right there. I'm very sorry for that mistake. So let's just ignore that down there in the bottom. Okay, point E is actually the same as point B because we graphed it earlier. And now we have to find point F, which is 2, 8. So we find 2 on the x-axis because it's the first number that appears. We find 8, and we just let our fingers meet, and they will meet right here. And as you can tell, we have, if we were to connect these, we would have a line. So let's go ahead and do the best we can to draw a line with the points that we have. I like to draw an arrow on the end of my lines to show that the line will continue on forever. Okay, and we just took y equals 2x plus 4, and this is what it would look like as a line. Final thing I'd like to look at today for this video is to complete the table of the ordered pairs given for the linear equation, then plot the ordered pair solutions. So doing what we were doing before, except this time is it in chart form. So this really makes the point 0, comma something. This one's like 2, comma something, something, comma 0, and something, comma -4. So let's take this information that we gathered from the chart and let's use our linear equation right here that you're learning what it's going to be called, and let's plug the values in for x or y's. Let's label this as A, B, C, and D. So for over here, let's work part A. So we know that x is equal to 0 and we're solving for y. So let's write our original equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 3. We know that x is equal to 0, so let's plug a 0 in for x. When we simplify, that's just going to go to 0, so we're just left with 3. So let's write a 3 in that chart. For B, we know that x is equal to 2 and y is question mark. That's what we were solving for. So we write our original equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 3. This time we're going to plug a 2 in for the x. And as you'll see right here, 1/2 times 2 is 1 plus 3. Y is equal to 4. So I wrote a 4 in for this coordinate pair right here, and then again right there in the chart. Let's look for part C. X, in this case, we have no idea, but we know that y is equal to 0. So let's take our original equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 3. In this case, let's plug a 0 in for y, and let's solve for the x. First, you want to subtract 3 on both sides. So -3 equals 1/2 x plus 2. To get that x by itself, you want to divide by the 1/2 on each side, or just multiply by the inverse, or the reciprocal, of 1/2, or just 2. And this will cancel out x on both sides. And 2 times -3 is just -6. So x equals -6. And finally, for part D, we have that x equals, well, we don't know yet, but y equals -4. So let's take our original equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 3. We'll plug a -4 in for y, everything else the same. Let's solve for that x. First, you're going to want to subtract 3 on both sides. So you're left with -4 minus -4 minus 3, or just -7 equals 1/2 x. Again, like we did before, you can divide by the 1/2 on both sides, or you can multiply by the reciprocal of 2. Or x, and remember these will cancel out, or x equals a -14. So let's write a -14 into the chart. You can say that is a -14, comma -4 as a coordinate pair. So let's take the data we just collected and use this graphing tool below this coordinate pair, or the 4-quadrant plane, using our coordinate pairs, and graph these. So this, for point A, we have 0, 3, so we do not go anywhere on the x direction because we are at 0. So we want to move up 3 places on the y direction to find point A. Okay, 2, 4, so we move over 4 on the x direction, and then we want to move up 4 on the y direction to find point B. For point C, we have -6, 0. So for this, we'll actually move over 6 places to the left and place our dot, because we do not go anywhere in the vertical direction because it is 0. And that is point C. Point D, we will not be able to graph it for this because we do not have enough places on our coordinate plane below here to graph, but we have enough data here to draw a line. I believe if we were to draw a line through the points, our data would look something like this. That is what the linear equation would look like graphed on the 4-quadrant plane.